one I think about, because I really love space, is wait. Why am I talking?
Wow, I love that.
It's a great question that you can pose to yourself to like be more reflective.
After that session that you did, like what did that open up for you in your life? How did it, like going forward, did you just go all in with breath work? Did you try other plant medicine type experiences? Like what opened up for you?
Yeah, I did a number of things. There was mushrooms was introduced in my life, lots of things. But breath was something that I could return back to on a daily. It could be a gentle breathwork session. It could also be a more intense breathwork session. When you take mushrooms or anything else, it has an agenda for your system. And you have to wait until it moves through. Whereas breath, I could just do a touch.
Wow.
I could do more. I was in control. And health is the ability to choose. I could choose whether the breath was a deep session, a journey, or whether it was just a daily practice. And I love that ability to make that choice and to micronize it how I saw fit. We talk about microdosing. I learned how to microdose my breath. And I learned that the invisible forces that we speak about, like breath, beyond breath lies something really special. Beyond breath lies expression. That's where the expression lies. In a breathwork session, it's not, the breath is what's driving, the session. But when an emotion comes up, when an expression, a unique, authentic expression comes up, the breath is out the window. And the expression is now the main priority. And so this is beyond breath work. There's something beyond the breath. And that's the expression. And I believe that's true for every part of your life. I believe that each and every person, like in this room, everyone that's listening to this, has their own unique breath pattern, like a fingerprint. And that breath has a relationship. It does something. It takes maybe 13 seconds to take a deep breath in and deep breath out. Some people, 2 seconds. Everyone has a different speed, a different cadence, and I think that materializes in the outside world. I think that if we were to study like maybe the great entrepreneurs or the great artists or the great athletes of modern day, I believe you would see each one of their breath being an extension of what they brought into the world. Because your expression leads to what you now can then bring into as an expression into the world. And we don't honor a lot of people. You're like, oh, if you're an artist, express yourself. Athlete, express yourself. But most of us don't get permission for full, authentic, unique expression. And we all have it. And so I think the breath is the gateway to our own unique expression.
And that's profound. It's profound. It's like, you sharing that brings up memories of my dad, who passed, over a decade ago. But I remember my whole life, just the way he breathed, putting my head on his tummy. Like, I never looked at it like that. I've never thought of it. It brought up, and here comes an emotional response already, right? Like what breath can do. Tell me why breath work can create emotional releases and responses.
Yeah. I'm gonna sit with that for a second.
Yeah, it was juicy.
And I want to speak to it for a second because I've actually just recently lost my father.
Sorry.
And thank you. It was actually one of the most beautiful experiences of my life. I got to watch him take his last breath. And I got to hold his hand, and I had just listened to Zach Bush. And he had described how we deal with grief. He had talked about death and how we grieve for death rather than revere it. And what he says in that moment, he says that our entire lives are a culmination of acquiring knowledge with no time for integration, because our lives are always forward and they never slow down. But death is the ultimate slowdown. And really, this juxtaposition between the integration and also knowledge comes wisdom. That's the crossroads. Wisdom is that intersection. And so at the end of our lives, when it's finally slowing down enough to allow all our moments, all of our memories, all of our collected experiences to finally catch up with us. We are at our wisest when we take our last breath. And so it was so beautiful to listen to that by Zach, and then to only get to witness it. As far as your question about what comes up for people with breath, well, I think, if you look at breath, it's an opportunity to create sensations in the body. It's an opportunity to expand inwardly, right? We have outer space, right? This incredible place, that's this frontier that we destined to learn more about, and we take space shuttles to explore it. And yet, what do we use to go inward? Breath is our space shuttle to go into our own inner space and to explore it and to repressurize it. To pressurize the system is to force all things to the surface. And so that internal pressure, because the external pressure is stress. People pushing things on you, the stressors, those keep you down. They keep you in a contracted state. If you look at the inverse of that, the inner expansion, you are Xing pressure. And what is X pressure? Expression. That's right. So to X pressure is to express yourself in life. And so that's why the expression lies beyond the breath. The breath starts it, but then that pressure, internal pressure, becomes expression. And so it is an opportunity to push off pressure. If you looked at weights and you looked at a barbell, on your chest, and how do you push it off? How do you push off this weight? You do it by Xing that pressure, and breath is a way to push off all of the outside stressors from the internal aspect. And so what happens is things come to the surface. And if something is coming up, it is only coming up to move through you. And it was a big part of this practice in the very beginning where we would say things like, let it go. But I think now we've come to the realization that it's not about what's being released, but it's about what's being received. And so now we don't say let it go, we say let it in. And that's when you can let it deep.
We could also probably say let it through.
Yeah.
Right?
That's
I love
exactly
to let
it.
it in and let it through.
Let it in, let it deep, and then you can let it through.
Oof. And some of the plant medicine ceremonies I've sat with, that has helped me receive and heal and let things through and feel, rest. A teacher who I deeply love and have been working with shared with me a few tools, and that is breath is your ally with all things, right? This relationship with your breath. And before I started this journey, I didn't have a relationship with my breath. It was just even my partner would just be like, why are you breathing like that? I would breathe heavy. I was like, I don't know why. But now it's throughout the day, the more connection I can make with my breath, the better. If I can make one more connection with my breath that I did yesterday, if I can make one more, just building a relationship with my breath, trust. Because sometimes hard things come through, as you know. Sometimes buried emotions, grief, pain, sorrow, sometimes joy. Sometimes joy is hard to be with, right? And laughter. But that acronym STAR has always stuck with me: surrender, trust, allow, receive, and then breathe, right? So did you find that to be true? And have you heard of that acronym before?
I haven't heard that acronym before. The one I think about, because I really love space, is WAIT. Why am I talking?
Wow, I love that.
It's a great question that you can pose to yourself to be more reflective. I really think that the idea of embodiment is something that is been integrated inside you. I see embody as something that's in body. It's in your body. It's in your body because you've kept it there. The other stuff, waste products. You read something, talked about it, it's out of the system. But to live it, to walk with it, to be with it, to titrate it, to filtrate it, to wrestle with it, to sharpen it, to smooth it out, to do all the things with it, to really sit with those concepts, for a long time, that's what it is to embody something. It's what you keep, what stays in the body. And so for me, I think about breath as this ultimate reminder that we can always go within. And I see breath two-sided. Most people don't even see breath, making the invisible visible. They don't even see breath. And so it's the ability to actually see that there's both ends of the spectrum to breath. That breath is its own polarity. There is oxygen and there is CO2. And that relationship is so important. And realizing that your breath is this incredible measurement tool. It is the first thing you do. It's the last thing you do.
It's the first thing and the last thing. That's so true.